Hey everybody, Zak Nordyke here with you, founder of Evergreen Learning Center. This is another edition of our Zero to a Million series where we're trying to help entrepreneurs or business owners looking to take their company from maybe the idea stage all the way up to $1 million in annual revenue. So if that is your ambition, I hope this content helps. This comes from lived experience trying to work for many years to get my company to this level. We've had the good fortune of doing it, and it's come with many different learnings. And today's topic is going to be common sense communication. Okay, this is a topic that is more difficult to, I think, have your organization comprehend than it might imagine. Common sense communication, which is today's focus, is going to center around: are you speaking to the business and all the team members in a way that's appropriate for the size of the business? The way we would address one person is not the way we would address 5 people, is not the way we would address 15, so on and so forth. We have to be very cognizant of how we are coming across, so the team members that we're working with understand what our intention is, and that it's communicated in a way that feels, appropriate for the size of the organization. There are just many different ways to go about this. So really want to talk about this. Entrepreneur tip: know the stage of your business growth. Okay. If you have 3 team members working with you, please let me help you with a big disclaimer right now. Don't speak to them through a blast email newsletter. If you have 1,000 clients, or customers in your organization, great. A blast email newsletter makes total sense. But if you have 3 people, please have personal conversations with them. There's nothing more important than treating people like like people. Just that simple. Treat people like people. But especially when your team is not large, make sure you're having personal conversation with them. Okay. Know the stage of growth. Okay. There's a very helpful framework that Reid Hoffman, who is the founder of LinkedIn, and he has a book called Blitzscaling. He has this kind of classification of stage of growth. And we're going to use that framework as kind of a lens to have today's discussion. Are you at the family stage of growth? Are you at the tribe stage of growth? Or are you even bigger than that stage of growth? Are you getting more into that village stage of growth? That's pretty exciting if you're there. So a family stage of growth is when you have 1 through 9 team members you're working with. Tribe stage of growth is 10 through 99. And then a village is basically in the hundreds, 100 through 999. Okay. I figure if you are at the 0 to a million stage and you're watching this, you're somewhere probably family tribe stage. I know our organization, and I feel very fortunate about this, is getting towards the village stage. We're not there yet, where we're going to be in the, reaching the 100 mark soon. And then, hundreds over the next few years. I want to really talk about how our communication has evolved, when we pass the family stage of growth and into the tribe stage. Remember, the family stage is 1 to 9 people. The tribe stage is 10 to 99 people. It is so important that we really know our stage and we don't communicate bigger or smaller than the organization size, because people are going to really take messages the wrong way, even if you have great intentions, if you don't communicate appropriate to the audience. Okay, and I'll go into this. Family stage, 1 to 9 people. Obviously, some of you listening probably have a family. You probably grew up with a family. Doing things in this kind of big company way. I'm probably guilty of not understanding this, as I was starting to run our operation. Okay. But thankfully, I did have a lot of good role models. Many of us may watch YouTube videos and get guidance, and we look up to people who lead companies that are much, much larger than ours. And we think that the way they communicate, the way they share that they communicate in books or in presentations or in whatever way we're absorbing the content that they're providing, we think, wow, they are renowned for being a great leader or outstanding manager, and they've had all this growth, and look at how they're communicating. What we really fail to kind of maybe fully intake is they're communicating to a much larger audience. It takes a very specific skill set and a very specific strategy and way of going about communicating with that big audience. But at our level of growth, we have to kind of disregard that approach. It doesn't make sense. It won't be effective. It is wrong for where we're at. It's not wrong. It's probably perfect for the size of company and the size of audience that that business leader, that entrepreneur is speaking to. But be really mindful. Use common sense. If you have 1 to 9 people, yes, obviously we all have to communicate through text, whether that's email or SMS or Slack or WhatsApp, or name the 100 other ways that we can communicate digitally. But at the end of the day, you have to really treat everybody like family. 1 through 9 people. If you're working with a local team, you need to make time to have lunches, dinners, breakfasts, whatever. You need to eat together, as much as possible. You need to have face-to-face conversations, whether it's through Zoom or actually in person, and really communicate with each of those 9 or up to 9 people as much as you can. The more big decisions, the more big communication that comes through writing, the more you increase your likelihood of creating disconnect, and you're coming across quite impersonal. I get that it's it's 2023, and texting and not talking to people is pretty common. Even at a family level. But you do not have that many people working with you. It is so important to have a pretty close relationship with the 9 people, because your business really depends on them. And being as personally invested, connected, and knowledgeable about every person who works with you is important. You're at a very fortunate stage in some ways where you can have a really hands-on approach. You know that person, probably whomever these 9 people are people that you've worked with before or are close to in some way. Please don't treat them like you're lecturing an audience of 90,000 people. Have a really intimate, close relationship with them. Make sure your notes are personalized. Sure, if you want to do like a weekly all hands type of thing where everybody gets together and you're speaking more as kind of the group lead, totally makes sense. Just like at a family dinner, the person leading that dinner is probably going to speak a little bit more, or at least initiate those conversations. But make sure that you are talking to people just like you would talk to a family member at this stage of growth. More face-to-face, 100% personal, really making sure that we are not speaking like we're speaking to a large audience. Not a large audience. Know the people you're working with well. Really take in consideration how they're personally feeling. Really lead this just like an adult would lead a family. And obviously these are adult peer family members. Well, I'm assuming that they are, that you're leading. You want to really communicate with them just like a family communicates. Frequently, personal, the frequency needs to be high. The personal one-to-one communication needs to be high. Obviously written communication is essential no matter what the size, but any major decisions, do not, squander the opportunity to personally communicate through either Zoom or in person, so people can have a dialogue with you in a very kind of what I'll call family exchange way. You're sitting hopefully in a circle. You're circled up with the folks on your team, or if it's just one other person, you're sitting right with them, and you are having a conversation, just like a family would have a conversation about any major decision that needs to go on. That's very much a multi-sided exchange. And again, I'm going to throw out one other piece. I think you have to choose your time to debate and a time to decide and implement. Obviously, even at the smaller stage, you cannot allow things to be debated forever. But in that small group, you always have to, I think, give people the room to debate and challenge and throw in other ideas. But then you have to be, as the leader of your group, your organization, hey, this is when we're going to decide. Okay, so let's make sure we get in any objections, any add-ons, anything. By this time, we're going to decide. The decision's made. Okay, now let's implement, right? Debate, decide, implement, repeat. This is going to be a common theme here. Now, on your tribe level, 10 people use more of that family approach. But as you go 20, 30, 40, 50, guess what? You're not going to be able to communicate in the exact same way. Here's generally why when you get well past 10. You're not going to be able to manage 99 people yourself, okay? I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's probably not efficient. Or in my experience, I'm going to say, I wouldn't find that to be efficient or effective, okay? And I really want people to have the best personalized experience. Hopefully, as you've grown from 10 to 99 people, if you have that good fortune, or if you're on the way, for one, congratulations, that's awesome. But for two, when you get there, you usually don't get there in one kind of one continuous, like 1 month you have 10 people, and the next month you have 100 people. If you've had that experience, you must be doing something amazingly right with your sales and growth. So great job. But I'll just share from my experience. The first 9, 10 people you have, hopefully you've had tremendous personal interaction with them. Hopefully whatever values, whatever communication style you use has been deeply imparted with that group, that smaller, tight-knit group. As you add more people to the team, hopefully internally, someone has I guess made it clear and shared that they want to step up and be a leader of a new group that might form, right? Ultimately, your responsibility goes from kind of what I'll call the head of the family to making sure that you pick the next great head of the family, right? So you want to find somebody that has the capacity and bandwidth to take that communication style that hopefully you've imparted to them on the early stage and step out and be the leader of the next 10 folks. And then you will repeat that process, and there will hopefully be within that group a leader that will lead your other 10 people. And it doesn't need to be 10. I mean, I don't think it's too much to manage 12 to 15 people. And every business is different. But I think what you need to think through is, I can't be there for all 99 people the way I once was. How do I make sure that my leaders are communicating the way that we communicated when it was just 1 to 9 people? How does that tradition live on? Okay. How do I then work with, let's say you do have 99 people and you have maybe up to 10 leaders leading groups of, 9, 10 people, whatever the number is going to be. How do I ensure that they are equipped to continue this tradition, this values carried, to communicate? Will the communication, and this has been my experience, I meet with the individuals leading the teams. We have an exchange. We really kind of work through things that they're seeing and they're experiencing. I'm exchanging what my vision is for the organization. And they're able to go back to their team and impart in that very personal way. So I'm not doing a lot of top-down communication. The leaders of the group are speaking with the group members. The group, they're having an exchange. That exchange then happens between myself and the group leaders, and we're dialoguing back and forth. So while the group is larger, the dialogue and exchange is still very personal. I really strongly discourage a lot of what I'll call top-down communication that skips over your managers or your team leaders, or however you have them, titled in your organization. You really want to work to have the people closest to the situation doing the bulk of the communication. Of course, there's times when you're getting to 99 people that you're going to do maybe a broad written update, a memo, something that goes out to everybody. It's key. Maybe you have an all hands that as many people that can attend come live, but you've recorded it to disseminate amongst the team members. But I'm telling you, from personal experience, as you grow as a tribe, avoid as much top-down, impersonal, imposing communication. Hey, everybody, we're doing it like this today. That really leads to a lot of alienation. You are not in position to top-down tell people what to do as you grow. Most of the time, are there critical situations where a decision has to be made instantly and people just have to do it? Yes, there are always emergency circumstances where that's key. But it's very important when you go from that family stage to the tribe stage that you find tribe leaders that can still manage in a small and personal way and communicate. They can exchange ideas with their team members. They can bring those ideas to you as the owner, meaning your different team leaders, your different managers. And then there's a back and forth exchange. But ultimately, you want to give the people closest to those that they're managing the opportunity to speak about changes, speak about anything that's going on in the most personal way possible. That is the way to keep that communication tight. Now you want to have great managers that can most certainly relay in a unified way that messaging, but personal communication, making sure people feel like they have an exchange with someone they know, is so important to keep, no matter how big your business gets. The village stage. This is tough, and I'm not going to say that I'm not even to the village stage yet, but I'm just going to share a little bit of a thought on the village stage. This will be a new endeavor for me, and I'll just share this. So, I think when you're at the family stage, it's just you speaking to those that you've asked to be on your mission with you and to work on the business with you. On the tribe stage, you've trusted one layer of management to go out and get things done. Recently, Evergreen has added what I'll call a third layer of management, which is this executive team. And I'm not going to act like I'm a great executive leader yet. It's still a tremendous work in progress. But as we get to the 100 plus level, this village stage, I really want to make sure that there's a great dynamic where team members are being heard by managers. Managers are being heard by executives, and executives are really spending the most time trying to set the managers up for success, and in part set the team members up for success and set the customers up for success. I think that the challenge to me is how the executives spend much more time listening than speaking. This village stage to me seems like a stage where your managers really have to do a good job getting information from your frontline team members. Those managers then need to have a time to share that information with your executives, but your executives need to do a lot of time listening and quickly formulating plans to best support managers as well as team members, while keeping the vision of the business owner, which will be yourself, and maybe you have a partner, the founding team. this is a unique dynamic because there's a lot of kind of levels of communication potentially when you get here, and goodness knows there are much higher levels. But this is where you really have to empower your managers and executives to have a great dynamic. And this is what I'm working on, where the executive team does not overshadow the management team and doesn't kind of from a top-down perspective impose decisions that haven't been well communicated with frontline team members. Remember, the people working closest to issues in your company are probably the ones that need to have quite a bit of say. So a challenge I personally run into is when you bring in executives, they have a lot of business experience. They have a lot of know-how. They often have a lot of drive, which are wonderful qualities. You need those. But when you have a lot of experience, a lot of drive, a lot of know-how, you often resort to telling people what to do versus asking what the challenge is and collaborating, right? So I would share that, again, not deep into the village stage, really haven't hit it numerically yet. We're getting there. Once you add multi-layers of management, you've got frontline team members being managed by their direct manager and then an executive above those managers. You got to be very careful that your team members are comfortable speaking with the manager that they're directly reporting to. You have to be really comfortable that your managers are comfortable talking with the executive team. And you have to be, I think, really diligent about making sure your executive team doesn't make decisions for the village, but with the village, and setting up everybody to be successful, essentially taking almost no credit and giving maximum credit to those who are executing and those who are managing the ones executing. It's a difficult dynamic, but the quickest way, and I've seen this because our organization's dealing with it, the quickest way to upset people is to make sure that they, or not to make sure, but to inadvertently make them feel like they have no voice or they're being told what to do versus listened to, and then having the things that they're listened to, either implemented or explained, hey, no, this can't be the way we approach this right now. But the quickest way to break things down is to not have an exchange going on in your company, to have a one-way flow of information. So as you approach this village stage, as we're rapidly approaching, make sure all your teams are dynamically exchanging, encourage debate, encourage open dialogue about things that aren't going wrong, but never encourage one-way communication where the people that have the quote unquote most experience are the ones that get to tell everyone to do. That really defeats the purpose of a lot of people working together with dynamic and divergent views. You have to learn how to put all these layers together in a way that can maximize the contributions of those involved. So communication has so much to do with the health and growth of the company. And these are just some of my experiences. Hopefully you find these helpful, and I can't wait to talk with you more on our next installment. Until then, have a great and healthy holiday.